Before we start today's episode, I want to quickly share something I've been working on. It's called the consistency reset, and I created it for women who are tired of starting over with diets, workouts, and healthy habits. Because most women don't fail because they lack motivation. They struggle because the plan is too strict, too complicated, or simply doesn't fit real life. Inside the consistency reset, you start with the short quits, and then you get the personalized plan with simple daily actions, realistic strength workouts, practical nutrition habits, and reset tools for the days when life gets busy. So if you miss a workout, overeat, have a stressful weekend, or feel like you are falling off track, the goal is not to start over again. The goal is to take next small step and keep going. If that sounds like what you need right now, you can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. But now, let's get into today's episode. So today's conversation is about something many people have heard about, but maybe don't fully understand, and it's seed oils. You might have seen strong opinions online. Some people say seed oils are one of the biggest problems in modern nutrition. Others say the fear is exaggerated. And like with many nutrition topics, it can become confusing very quickly. So today, my goal is not to make this conversation extreme or fear-based. My goal is to make it practical. What are seed oils? Why are they used so much, and why are they hidden? And what we should know about cooking oils, healthy fats, processed foods, and food quality. And most importantly, what can a normal busy person actually do in a real life without becoming obsessive? That's why I'm excited to speak today with Cherie Calbom. Cherie has a long background in nutrition, wellness, choosing healthy living, and helping people make better food choices in a realistic way. In this episode, we talk about seed oils, staple fats, hidden oils, inflammation, energy, digestion, healthy aging, and simple swaps you can make in your everyday meals. So if you have ever felt confused about oils, fats, processed foods, or what actually matters when you're trying to eat healthier, this episode will help you think about it in more practical way. So let's get into it. So Cherie, first of all, welcome to my show. I'm so excited to learn from you. And before we go into seed oils and healthy fats, could you share a little bit about your background and what led you into nutrition and wellness?
I was really sick in my 20s. I had chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, and so sick that I had to quit work and move home. And I would sleep 12 hours a day and still feel sick and tired and like I had the flu all the time and ache all over. And no doctor knew how to help me. So that was the moment I decided I needed to help myself. And I started talking to people at health food stores and learning about diet. And I learned my diet was all wrong. I love fast food and junk food and sugar. I was addicted to sugar and I hated vegetables. No wonder I was sick. So I went on a 5-day juice fast, vegetable juice fast. I should clarify that. And on day number 5, my body expelled a tumor this size of a golf ball with blue blood vessels attached that looked like somebody cut them. And after I got my Master of Science degree in Whole Foods Nutrition and my thesis on nutrition and cancer, I learned those blood vessels is the cause and is known as angiogenesis, and it feeds the tumors. So nature's scissors like luteolin, apigenin, fisetin cut off that blood supply. And I saw that. And I was overwhelming my body and just flooding it with all of these wonderful juices, especially from the greens. And so I was getting a lot of that. And I was so impressed with what that juice fast had done, what nutrition could do. I wasn't well the next day, but I continued juicing and adding in a plant-based diet. It took me 3 months, but I was well and felt fabulous at the end of that. And I thought, this is powerful. And food is medicine. It is powerful. And when we do the right things, amazing things happen. But that's when I decided I wanted to go back to school and get a master's degree in nutrition so I could be a credible source. So since that day, I have written 36 books. The Truth
Wow.
About Seed Oils is number 36. I've sold 3.5 million copies globally. And my bestseller was Juicing for Life, my first book on 50 different ailments and the juices and nutrients and diet for those. And it sold over 2 million copies. So
Wow.
my books have gone all over the world in 23 languages. And it's been quite a journey of helping people find better health all over the world.
Oh, that's such an amazing background, and huge congratulations for such a
Thank you.
amazing career. So, what made you interested in seed oils specifically?
Well, I wrote a book in the early 2000s called The Coconut Diet. And at that point in time, in most of the Western world, coconut oil was no longer popular. It had once been popular, and prior to World War II, it was advertised in America as the healthiest oil on earth. People loved coconut oil, they loved cooking with it. And then during the war, when the tropical oils couldn't make it through the waters because of World War II, then
Mm,
the seed oil industry, which was very small prior to that, stepped up production and really made it a goal to seize the market. And when the war ended, they did not want to let go of that market, of course, because it was worth a lot of money. And
mm,
so something else conveniently showed up for them, but not for the people, and that was heart disease and heart attack.
mm,
And that showed up after this step up of seed oils during the war. And then they started doing autopsies and finding fat and cholesterol in the arteries. And they weren't looking underneath the plaque much to find out why that plaque formed, but it was irritated arteries. And what was irritating those arteries? Seed oils and
wow.
sugar and smoking. So it isn't just the seed oils, but seed oils were big factors in all of that. But anyway, they started demeaning anything with saturated fat, suddenly was bad. And some common sense voices said, wait a minute, we've always eaten saturated
Mm,
fats, butter, cheese, eggs, red meat, lard, tallow. They've been around for centuries. People have eaten those. Why would they just suddenly, out of the blue, cause these problems? But coconut oil, back to the subject at hand, got demeaned because it has saturated fats in it. It's not bad for you. It's excellent for you. It's a great oil. It's very healthy. But they really attacked it. And it fell from grace. And it didn't come back until a couple of importers were bringing in a little bit of coconut oil. And I looked at their work and what they were saying, and some of the work of Dr. Mary Enig, Professor Enig, who wrote the book Fats and Oils. And it all made sense to me that coconut oil was demeaned for no good reason at all. And so I began to write about it and a couple other people, and that book became a bestseller. And we brought coconut oil back to the West, but in smaller quantities. And then it started catching on, and now you can find it in big box stores. But it was that whole scenario that got me interested in fats and oils. And when this no seed oil movement popped up and lots of confusing comments, and need for practicality, I decided there was a need for a book to set
yeah, that's
straight.
you are so right. So, 'cause when people, because you, I'm sure if you follow any social media, you there is all over this big debate seed oils. So, but when you hear the term seed oils, what oils are we actually talking about?
So we're talking about, and they're also known as vegetable oils. They're one in the same. We're talking about canola, which is rapeseed,
Mm,
soy, corn, safflower, sunflower, grapeseed oil, rice bran, cottonseed, and peanut oil. Those are your seed oils. And why are they not good for us? Why are they toxic? If
mm,
they were just pressed, cold pressed in some old fashioned way of making oil, they would not be toxic. But what happens to them is industrial processing. And that's where they really break down into toxic byproducts. So they take big vats of seeds. And why did they start with big vats of seeds? It was cottonseed that were piling up at the turn of the century before last when cotton crops were flourishing and the seeds were mounding up and rotting. And they were saying, what do we do with this? Oh, well,
Mm,
we'll make oil. And the oil that they made was dark and smelly, and it was used for machine lubrication. And
mm,
then they still had a lot of seeds and needed more things to do with it. So they decided to make cooking oil out of it by
mm,
refining it even more so that it wasn't dark and smelly anymore. It had no fragrance and no taste to speak of, and looked clear and it wasn't dark any longer. So, what happens in that processing after the high heat of about 500 degrees on these big vats of seeds? Then they pour in hexane, which is a very toxic chemical, to extract the last bit of oil out of the seeds. And then they have neutralizers and deodorizers and bleaching agents, and on it goes with the chemicals that go into these oils. So by the time these oils are rolled out of the factory to the market, is what I wanted to say. They're very toxic. They have toxic byproducts like lipid peroxides and aldehydes. These create oxidative stress in the body, and that leads to inflammation. And inflammation leads to every disease you could name. And so that's why these oils are not considered good for you. And then there's a second reason. They are dominant in linoleic acid, which is a polyunsaturated fatty acid. And polyunsaturated fats have double bonds, at least two sets. And what does that mean? There's no carbon or hydrogen attached to those bonds. They're just like equal signs. That means they can be broken very, very easily. And when they break, that creates toxicity, free radicals, toxic byproducts.
mm,
And so they're very fragile oils. And so all that processing creates a very, very fragile oil that breaks down very easily and becomes very toxic in the body. But I want to go back to linoleic acid. So here's the other side of the coin and the other side of the argument. That side says, wait a minute, linoleic acid is very good for you. We need it. It's an essential fatty acid, and we need to have it in our diet. And that is true, but not in the amount that we're getting it. We're getting it in huge amounts because
mm,
it's in so many packaged foods, especially in America, all this packaged stuff. And fast food restaurants love it because it's cheap
mm,
and shelf stable, and restaurants love it. And
mm,
so it's everywhere. We're getting it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so we're getting way too much linoleic acid. And what does that mean for the average person? We should have about a 4 to 1 ratio for linoleic or omega-6. It's known as to 1 omega-3. Most people are in the range of about 20 to 1. That is
wow.
way out of range. And do you know what that causes also? Just being out of range, inflammation. So
Mm,
we're getting double whammy from the toxicity of the
mm.
processing and just the overconsumption of omega-6 and the underconsumption of omega-3s.
Yeah, because it's so you said it so well and explain it like that how it's used so much in all restaurants, packaged foods, snacks, sauces, and list goes on, and that causes and that we get way too much. But how, in your opinion, how can we talk about seed oils without making people afraid of every food they eat?
Well, I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be empowered, right?
Mm.
So we can make good choices. When I shop, I don't feel afraid at all, but I shop with a magnifying glass or my phone, take pictures, or you can have a scanner. There's one called Seed Oil Scout app, and you can get a free trial. Go to my landing page, thetruthaboutseedoils.com, and it's
Mm.
right there. But you can shop with power, right? And look at labels and look at what's in there. And fortunately, because it's a hot topic and because more and more people are becoming aware and want a seed oil free product, more things are coming on the market that are available to you. So, for example, I'm always scouting around when I'm out
Mm.
shopping, and even at the big box stores. So, big sacks of organic popcorn with sea salt. Now you can get it with olive oil, not with
Oh,
a
nice.
seed oil. Chips, organic corn chips with sea salt. You can get it made with avocado oil or olive oil. I found olive or avocado oil mayonnaise at the big box stores. I found beef tallow there, which has a high smoke point and is great if you're going to do hot cooking, very high heat, like frying. And I found it there. You can find now salad dressings if you don't want to make your own. It's so easy with olive oil and vinegar and some herbs and spices and pinch of sea
Mhm.
salt. But if you don't want to make your own, there are brands now out there with olive oil and vinegar. And more and more products are coming on the market. So I just say, let's be empowered and let's be wise shoppers. Also, on the Seed Oil Scout app, it'll show you in your area what restaurants are seed oil free. So
Oh,
there'll be little
nice.
green bubbles all around where you live. You click on it, and there's a restaurant. So, for example, and you would like hearing this,
Yeah.
3 minutes from my house is my favorite Italian restaurant, and
Yeah.
they import all their ingredients from Italy.
Oh,
Well,
nice.
yeah, the owner came out the other day because I was telling him about my book, and he said, "Oh, yeah, here's our can of olive oil. We import it from Italy. We cook everything in olive oil. No other oil in this restaurant. And
Yeah.
all their flour is imported from Italy. And it's the one place in town I can eat some bread. I can't eat it anywhere else because it's
Yeah.
not sprayed with all those nasty pesticides." So it's getting encouraging. And there's some big chains. Well, they're smaller big chains like Steak and Shake, Popeyes, and Outback have gone seed oil free. So as we request it, we, the shopper, voting with our wallet, we're going to get more choices. But right
Mm.
now, there are a lot of independent restaurants around where people live where you can eat seed oil free and enjoy every bite of your dinner.
Oh, that's so nice to
Mhm.
hear. Like obviously here in Italy, it's not that big an issue, like because it's
No.
traditional Italian cooking. It's all with olive oil, and we prefer to eat fresh stuff and from local restaurants. But of course, you never know uh, what oils are they using. But so, what oils or fats do you personally prefer for cooking?
So the good ones, everybody wants to know what's on the good list.
Yeah.
So here's your list. Clean out your pantry. If you have any of those bad seed oils, toss them out, get rid of them,
Yeah.
and buy these. So olive oil, of course, and extra virgin olive oil, the cold press, first press is the best. Avocado oil, coconut oil, and then ghee, which some people call oil of butter, it's clarified butter, is a good one. And sesame oil, because most people just use it in little bits, small quantities for Asian style cooking. They haven't wrecked it yet. So
Yeah.
pretty much it's okay. And then if you want to spend a little more for a nut oil, macadamia nut oil and almond oil are good ones as well.
Yeah. And what would you use for higher heat cooking? Like, because with olive oil, that's the issue, is right? That you can't heat it too much. So,
No, it does not have a very high smoke point, but avocado oil does. So
oh,
it can be heated to the high 400 range, like about 480. And so uh, go with avocado oil, or if you're not vegan or plant-based, you could go with beef tallow for high heat cooking as well.
yeah. So, what people should know about olive oil? Then, like you mentioned already a little bit, but 'cause I'm curious.
I'm a big fan of olive oil. It's part of the Mediterranean diet. And I
Mm.
was just looking at a couple of new studies that came out on, I'm going to digress for just a second here, but eating more eggs to prevent Alzheimer's disease.
Mm.
And then they talked about what diet as well. So the people that ate um, at least an egg 5 days a week had the least Alzheimer's,
Wow.
27% less Alzheimer's. And then they looked at diets, and it keeps coming up over and over again. The best diet to prevent Alzheimer's or dementia is the Mediterranean diet. And of course, the oil that's central to that is olive oil.
Mhm.
So I would just link those up and say there's a lot of preventative measures and including olive oil in your diet as well. And then it does so much for your system as well.
Mhm.
It's been linked to lower blood pressure, anti-inflammation. It's great for your skin and your hair and good for your heart. So olive oil all the way around is just a great oil to cook with. And fortunately, it never fell out of vogue. No one ever criticized it, but just didn't promote it very much when it was really popular to promote seed oils, also called vegetable oils. But now
Mhm.
olive oil is making a big comeback.
Oh, that's good to hear because I'm like, it's great to learn from you, and because it's at least here in Italy, it's olive oil is people are going for it and using, like, we don't use salad dressing, or I come from Finland, and it's always salad dressing, but
Yeah.
here in Italy it's just olive oil, maybe a little bit of salt or pepper or something like that, but no, you don't use like kind of dressing or anything. It's mostly like just olive oil, and that is, I find it so helpful. So,
Yes.
where, like, was there, like, people are talking so much about hidden oils in everyday life. So, where are, in your opinion, you mentioned already a couple of things, but where are those seed oils most commonly hidden?
In baked goods, packaged foods, um, anything boxed, boxed dinners,
Mm,
even protein bars, many of them will have it. Many plant-based milks like oat milk or almond milk will have it. So not all of them, and you can find brands without them. So that's where reading labels really is so important. But if you're buying anything packaged up, in, boxed or even breads, anything in a sack, a bag, a box,
mm,
read labels because here's why they're using seed oil so much. It's cheap.
yeah.
It's easy to store. It has a long shelf life. You don't have to refrigerate it. It's tasteless and odorless, so you can just dump it in everything. It creates moist products that look delicious.
Hmm.
You don't taste it, you don't smell it. I call it the silent killer because it is linked to just about every disease or illness, even emotional issues, about everything you could
Hmm.
name. And it is new, relatively new in history to come on the scene in the 1920s and then be called heart healthy. And when it came on the scene, cardiovascular disease rose and continued to rise, and it's still the number one killer in America. So,
Yeah.
what does that say? We've been on a wrong path, and what we've been calling heart healthy is obviously not heart healthy, or we would see heart disease going down and down and down. But people are eating it in so many things. It may even be in candy bars, and all sorts of desserts. So we've really got to be wise shoppers. The fortunate part is that we can find things now. If you're wanting to have more pre-made things, more and more are showing up, and more restaurants are working to accommodate people to go seed oil free.
Yeah. And then, like, cause it's always like when I talk with the people about shopping and everything, and it's one thing that pops up always, that how can someone read labels without becoming too obsessive?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Um, I read labels all the time, but I don't feel that I'm obsessed with it. I'm just looking for, I've
Mm,
got some choices on the shelf here and which one is the best one for me. And it doesn't take very long. And it's so easy. Picture on your phone, blow it up, or like I say, the Seed Oil Scout app, or a little magnifying glass, whatever, and you can assess pretty quickly what's in that package. But I never want people to be afraid of food or afraid
mm,
of eating because I believe as a nutritionist and as a healthcare provider and coach, we should have joy and happiness and peace. And that
mm,
is far more important, I think, than most things
yeah.
that we can do. And so the joy of eating and the joy of choosing good food is so important for your digestion and for your good
Yeah.
health. So make it a journey and a joyful journey,
Yeah, no,
even as you fail.
that's so I can't agree more with you because it should be enjoyment, but if you are a little bit aware what you are actually doing, and it's I think if you just start to look things using either that scanning those or just reading labels, it your choices they make such a big difference because usually when we go for grocery shopping it's you are in your auto mode, you are doing it without thinking, and you just pick always the same stuff you have, like most people they have same shampoo brand or same toothpaste brand and they just grab it without thinking anything, and it's often the same thing with the food, like you just take something without even checking what alternatives you have. And that is when you become a little bit more aware, you start to make it's not about that fixing everything at once, but if you make one two swaps, that's already amazing progress, and it's gonna benefit in the long term a lot more than people I think believe.
It is. Well, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories of people that made swaps and what happened for them.
Yeah, that
I
I
have
would
a
love to
young
hear.
woman. Yeah, and we all love stories, don't we? I have a young woman I worked with who had migraine headaches and no one could figure out why. And then she decided she would cut out all seed oils or as much as she could. I don't know that we can ever cut them all out. And her headaches went away and never came back.
Wow.
And then we had a lady that attended one of our health and wellness raw food and juice retreats. And she came with pretty severe cardiovascular disease and was hoping for improvements. At the end of the week, she felt pretty good, went back home, got an appointment with her cardiologist, and he said, "What have you been doing? You are my model patient. You don't
Wow.
have cardiovascular disease anymore." Well,
Wow.
we had no seed oils at our retreat. Everything was organic, fresh, all plant-based, a couple of days of vegetable juice fasting. She'd been on this incredibly ideal diet. She went home and stuck with it, got the seed oils out, no more of those, all good foods. I heard from her recently. She's 83 and she is so cute and healthy, and her cardiovascular disease never came back.
Wow, those are such a great examples what small things and relatively quick time in a
Yeah.
quick time can already make. So, so for women over 40, like, cause this is, it's, like, I think most of my listeners are in that category. Why might food quality and healthy fats matter more than they realize actually?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because that is a big topic right now, and lots of women are asking, what can I do? Seed oils are known as hormone disruptors. Why is that? Because they produce inflammation, and inflammation is a huge hormone disruptor.
Mm,
So as women began to get these seed oils out of their diet and the good oils in, and it's so easy. Who doesn't love olive oil or coconut oil? Especially those two are favorites among a lot of people that I work with and talk with daily. But as we get the good oils in, people notice, women notice that their hormones are balancing better, that they're sleeping better, that maybe some aches and pains are going away. I've had women go through menopause with no symptoms, no hot flashes, no night sweats, no
mm,
problems like many of their peers. It has so much to do with what you're eating. And of course, it isn't just seed oils, it's getting the sugars out, getting the processed foods, all of those chemicals out of your diet, eating real whole food, unsprayed food. So, organic, yes. And as much as you can do that, it's going to pay off. And people say, well, maybe it's a bit of a hassle. Like you said, they say I'm used to always doing it this way, or I've always eaten this, or I always buy
mm,
this brand. Maybe it's time to venture out and say, I'm going to try something new and see what can
mm,
happen. Because what can happen is pretty amazing. I had one young woman that had MS, and she worked with me to completely change her diet. And it was a process, but all her symptoms went away, which was so
mm,
exciting and encouraging. And then a relative came by with some wine and she was not doing any alcohol, persuaded her to have that glass of wine because it was so special. And some of her symptoms started coming back that afternoon. And she thought, oh no. And
Mm.
her slogan is one I've used ever since: nothing on earth tastes as good health. And I want you to taste good health.
Wow, that's so well said. So, how do then healthy fats fit together with protein, fiber, and strength training?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So we need to bring it all together, right?
Yeah.
And this is incredibly important. You mentioned women earlier to prevent osteoporosis or osteopenia, or if you're been diagnosed with that, you need strength training. You need lots of minerals, greens, good fats and oils, and high fiber diet. So fiber maxing is a new term. I found that interesting. I heard it recently for the first time. And what it does that mean? Means making sure that you're getting enough fiber in your diet,
Mm.
like about 30% should be high fiber foods. And so, what are those? Um, Vegetables, especially your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, all very, very high fiber vegetables, whole grains. And I go more for the ancient grains like whole grain rice, brown or black or red rice, millet and buckwheat, ancient grains that are whole, that have the fiber intact in those. And seeds and nuts will give you some legumes. That's beans, lentils, and split peas. Will give you some. But we want to eat a high fiber diet. And why is that important? Because it's very important for the gut. We're only as good as what we digest. People used to say you are what you eat. Now the slogan is you are what you digest. And if your digestive system is all out of
Mm.
whack, you're not going to be digesting that food well. You're not going to get all the nutrients. A good portion of your nutrients are absorbed in your intestinal tract. And so we want a healthy intestinal tract, and we must have good fiber in our diet to make that happen. When people are eating a lot of processed foods, junk food, fast food, they're probably not getting hardly any fiber. So that's where making your food yourself as much as you can is extremely important. You can make those
Mm.
great big main course salads, which is something that I like to have for dinner a lot. Lots of steamed vegetables, stir fries, soups, stews with lots of vegetables. But think vegetables and get a lot of those into your diet.
Yeah, because then, because we want to bring it a little bit together, what we have been talking, because many people like over 40 that, and women especially, they are trying to lose fat, but also at the same time they feel tired and having some stress. How should they think about fats then in their diets?
So the old slogan that I love, eat fat, lose fat, right? Because fat brings satiety, that feeling of
Hmm.
fullness. We came through a crazy, crazy era of low fat, no fat diet, started in the 80s. And it was supposed to make people thinner. It did the opposite. We just blew up after that. All that sugar and minus the fat, and people were always hungry and eating more sweets and putting applesauce instead, like in muffins, instead of oil. And it was just a bizarre time. And obesity really increased, and it never went back down. People got used to eating a lot of sweets, got used to that very sweet taste, and somehow that old teaching still lingers on in the minds of many people. Oh, I shouldn't eat very much fat. Do you know coconut oil is a slimming fat? It's rich in MCTs, medium chain triglycerides. The liver likes to burn them, and it is called a slimming fat. When my book, The Coconut Diet, came out, I did a lot of pilot studies with women, and everyone was losing weight, and they were making sure they were getting at least 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in their diet a day. Maybe they were adding a little bit to their smoothie and cooking with it and whatever. But people were losing weight like crazy. And so it is a very slimming fat, but don't cut out your fats to lose fat. We need fat for satiety, for that feeling of fullness, so that
Mm.
we're not wandering around after we've eaten a meal like dinner. How many times people wander around after dinner saying, I just want something more. Oh, I need something else. Well, it's not a bowl of ice cream that you need.
Yeah.
You, you are missing something from your dinner.
Yeah. So was you mentioned about inflammation and was seed oils, they are often connected with i- inflammation. And what how could you how would you explain that topic in a balanced way?
So we want to cut down inflammation, right? We
Mm.
want to put out, I call it the smoldering fire, because many, many conditions that people suffer from have low grade inflammation. It means it's always there, it just doesn't go away. Inflammation isn't a bad thing. If you cut your hand, it will get inflamed for a little while. That's part of the healing process. Turn red, maybe something will swell
Mm.
up or whatever. But you don't want low grade inflammation internally. That is a contributor to disease, all sorts of diseases, heart diseases. It is the contributor, not cholesterol. Inflammation is the contributor to heart disease. And so, how do you bring that down? Well, you look at inflammatory foods. First of all, I wrote the book, The Anti-Inflammatory Diet, and I looked at what was causing inflammation. So, not only seed oils, but sugar is another big one. And then all sorts of chemicals, additives, so processed foods. Eating too many refined carbs is a big contributor to inflammation. You want some anti-inflammatory foods in your diet, like ginger is shown in all sorts of studies, thousands of studies on ginger and turmeric, showing that the two of them are anti-inflammatory. And so I make fresh juice every day. I'm known as the juice lady.
Mm.
I start my day with a big glass of juice and then often a green smoothie made with juice and an avocado that I put in the blender. And I juice up big chunks of ginger root and put in my juices. And that's very, very anti-inflammatory. And then, of course, the good oils are going to be helpful and especially increasing your omega-3 fatty acids. And how do we do that? Fatty cold water fish, like wild caught, of course, like salmon, trout, mackerel, sardines, and then your good oils that you never heat, like flaxseed oil, or just sprinkling some flax seeds on your smoothie or your salad. Hemp seeds are another rich source of omega-3s. Hemp seed oil and walnuts are a great source of omega-3s. So sprinkle some walnuts maybe
Mm.
on that bowl of oatmeal in the morning, on a salad, or use walnut oil. You never heat walnut oil. None of these oils should ever be heated. They're very, very fragile, but cold, you
Mm.
can drizzle some walnut oil over a salad. You can put some in a smoothie, but it is very, very rich in omega-3 fats. And if you like to make your own plant-based milk, walnut milk is excellent and easy to make. And then you've got rich omega-3 fats. But bringing up your omega-3s can also really help reduce inflammation.
Mhm. And then for athletes and who are like people who are like interested or about their athletic performance, how can food choices support better recovery and energy?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. You know, we had in the news not too long ago, one of our football teams, the Tennessee
Yeah,
Titans,
I
went.
know.
Did you
Yeah,
see that?
yeah,
They went seed oil free
yeah.
for just what you said, performance and recovery, because
Mm.
what they were discovering is the seed oils hindered performance because it makes you more tired. They make you more tired, make you, they're linked to fatigue. And
Mm.
then recovery, getting the seed oils out, so that's getting the inflammation out, really helped with recovery. So what I would add to that is increase your electrolytes, get your minerals up, you know,
Mm.
your essential minerals. That helps always with recovery and with performance. Minerals are extremely important for your muscles, and your biggest muscle internal here is your heart.
Mm.
Extremely, extremely important. And then getting the omega-3s in your diet, again, for overall health, heart health, and MCTs. In fact, the medium chain triglycerides, you can buy them as MCTs or you can just eat coconut oil. But the fat around the heart is saturated. C16 and C18, and the heart draws on that in times of stress. Well, if you're an athlete, you're going to have times of stress, of course, when the heart is going to draw on that fat that is around your heart. Well, what if you're eating a lot of inferior fats, seed oils? Those are very inferior fats, but your body's going to use what it's got. If you give it inferior raw materials, and it needs some raw materials, it'll choose that. So give it the best materials that you possibly can give it, and it's going to replenish not only the fat around your heart, the fat around your cell membranes is saturated fat. Well,
Mhm.
give it the right kind of fat. You're going to, right at the cellular level, get more energy. And also, fresh, raw foods give you biophotons for energy. What
Mhm.
does that mean? The plants absorb the energy from the sun, right, and convert it to photons. And when you have fresh, like fresh vegetable juices or a big salad or fresh raw piece of fruit, you're getting biophotons. Those are from the sun. They energize your body because they feed the mitochondria. That's the little energy units of our cells, and
Mhm.
they produce ATP. And
Yeah.
ATP is our energy fuel. I could
Yeah.
just go on, but
I
I
know.
think good
Yeah.
picture here.
No, yeah, it's a very well said. I know that this is a so large topic, and I hear you are so passionate, like myself too. But maybe all listeners are not as passionate, and so we try to keep it simple. So for someone like let's call it a normal person who trains 2 to 4 times per week, what practical lesson could they take from that? What you just said?
Well, a lot of people I know like to start their day with smoothies because they can get a lot of nutrition packed into a big
Mm.
glass. And if you're one of those, add some good oil, maybe some coconut oil or olive oil or hemp seed oil or walnut oil, but get some good oil in there, which is great. Get some raw, of course, you're going to want some raw fruit, and some raw vegetables, get some greens in there and go with a great milk that is good for you. In Europe, I trust the dairy more than I trust it in the US. So I don't have dairy here, but when I'm in Europe, I can have dairy and it's not a problem. But get a great smoothie going if you're so inclined for that. And you can put some protein powder in that and just charge your body.
Yeah.
And start your day, with something that's going to perk up your cells. And a lot of people don't. They want quick energy. Maybe it's just a cup of coffee and something sweet or a bagel. And that's going to leave you crashing later on. So start your day with something that's going to sustain you, like fresh juice or a smoothie. And try to get a salad in somewhere during the day, some more live food.
Mhm.
And that's going to perk up your cells.
Yeah, that's such a good advice because I think I'm a big believer of a good breakfast. Like some people say that you should skip it, but I think it's for most people where you have most control about what you are eating. And once you get all like those oils or healthy vegetables or fruits in your breakfast already earlier in the day, it makes everything, or your protein, it makes everything so much easier later on when you might have not so much control anymore what you are eating, if you are eating out or something, or you day gets busy or crazy. So breakfast is often the time where most people have the most control over.
Mm.
So time is flying. I want to ask last couple questions because many people, they are overcomplicating things. What do you think people who overcomplicate uh, what too much when it comes to nutrition?
What would I say if they're
Yeah.
overcomplicating?
Or what do you think that
Yeah,
people are overcomplicating like too much when it comes to nutrition?
too much. Where are they? I think we tend to overcomplicate things when we get into fear, and
Mm.
fear just blocks our creativity. And so I say, have fun with it. Have fun with food. It's a joy. Making food should be joyful. Eating food should be joyful. We should enjoy what we eat. Real food is enjoyable. If you're not eating real food, switch over
Mm.
and, and make it as simple as you can. Get some good recipes. I have a bunch of them in my book, The Truth About Seed Oils, and over 50. And I've found that a lot of people just don't know how to sample food today because they've
Mm.
grown up with everything made for them, pre-made. But it's the very best when we can make our own. We know what's in there. We
Mm.
can choose the best ingredients. It's fresh and it's going to be the best for us. But once you get going and you get some payoffs and you start feeling better and you start looking better and you can work out with more energy and you see the results of that, I think you'll be inspired to do
Uh,
more.
Absolutely. Last question. If someone was, I know so many people are way too confused about all this information online. So if someone listening and feels confused, all the nutrition information online, what you would want them to remember?
Remember, make it simple, make good choices, read labels as much as you can. And, like if you're making a juice, we say start off with a simple ingredient, 3 ingredients,
Mm.
just carrot, apple, ginger, maybe to start with. Or if you're making a smoothie, make it simple to start with, maybe 3 or 4 ingredients, berries and some spinach and some kind of milk and put in uh, some good oil, and I like ice and everything. I like it cold.
Yeah.
Blend it up, but make it simple, but give it a start, give it a try. You'll never know how good you can feel until you start making some of these changes.
That's such a great advice. So where people can learn more about your work, where they can get books, please share all information. I will add links to show notes, but please share.
Come visit me. My main site is Juice Lady Info, info.com. My landing page for the book is thetruthaboutseedoils.com. You can get free gifts there. There's lots of stuff there for you. The 7 anti-inflammatory juices. We have the 21-day menu plan with recipes and ideas for preparing foods with good fats and oils. You can follow me on Instagram at Juice Lady Cherie, Cherie, and really all social media is that handle. I'd love to connect with you. Sign up for my newsletter. It's free and you get lots of tips and recipes.
Thank you so much, Sari. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And I think the big takeaway today is that nutrition doesn't need to become another thing we do perfectly, but food quality does matter. The oils we cook with, the processed foods we eat often, and the hidden ingredients in sauces, snacks, and restaurant meals, they all can add up. So thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't leave any 5-star review, please do me a favor and leave a 5-star review, as they are helping so much more people to find it. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode. Before you go, if you are tired of starting over every Monday, I want to invite you to check out the Consistency Reset. It's my new personalized coaching app for women 35 to 55 who want sustainable fat loss, simple workouts, practical nutrition habits, and support for real life. You will get daily actions, realistic workouts, and reset tools to help you keep going without guilt or perfection. You can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.